everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Disney Resorts podcast. My name's Kenny Hayes, and I'm joined alongside, as always, by the one, the only, Walt Ramirez.
Good evening, Ken. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, sir.
Yes, you
It's
are.
another day.
Where's your Christmas hat? I thought you were going to have your Christmas
Wait
hat.
a minute. Hold on. It's right here. If
There
we're
it
lucky
is.
before the end of the show, I'm putting it on.
All right.
I didn't want to break a sweat. So, folks, before we begin, happy holidays. When this episode airs, we'll be on the cusp of Christmas, so happy holidays to everyone. In this week's show, we got some pretty good topics. As Walter stated on our last show, we're going to dive into a little more on the return of the former CEO, now the CEO Part 2, Mr. Bob Iger. Just recently, the Disney Vacation Club had their annual Condo Association meeting, and some actual news actually came out of it. Several refurbishments were announced from the end of this year throughout 2024. We will get into that. We have a quick minivan update for the service that they provide at the Walt Disney World Resort. Then we have a Moana update out of Epcot, and Walter's got some pretty good thoughts on that. We'll get into that shortly. Another Genie Plus update, and maybe, just maybe, most of us will like this one, but you'll find out later on. Then we're going to talk, before we wrap up the show, we're going to do a little bit of some of our favorite things to do at Walt Disney World during the holiday season. And yeah, that's going to be good. So it sounds like a good show. You should stick around, check us out. And before we begin, as always, make sure to, if you're checking us out over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and as Walter always says, share with a couple friends. So, Walt, I'm going to turn it over to you for the news.
All right, Ken. So as you mentioned before, there is an exciting Genie Plus update. So Genie Plus has made a modification on their Lightning Lane selections where you don't have to cancel the entire selection and rebook it. So you can go in and just change any party issues that you may have. If somebody doesn't want to go on a particular ride, you can just bump them out of there and without having to go redo the entire thing. So it's a small modification, but one that I think most people will find really helpful.
Well, think about it, Walt, real quick. It's almost like it was like the dining system, because if you dropped your dining reservation and then you didn't realize you were on Disney Wi-Fi, and then you try to grab that, and then by the time it says, "Oh, something went wrong," and like the little dwarfs pop up on the screen and say you have to try again, and then by the time you actually go through, someone else took the reservation. And that's what I was reading as well, that a lot of people are happy with this because you're dropping something that you were guaranteed to have.
Correct.
And then you were hoping that somebody's internet speed wasn't faster than yours and they didn't take it before, and now you're out of luck. So,
and it just makes sense. I mean, this is something that they should have, it's a glitch that they should have fixed from the beginning if they had just put a little bit of thought into it, but you know.
Should we thank Mr. Bob Iger for this?
It's a little early for that. Let's not. Let's just say that somebody figured this out on their own. Let's give them credit for it.
I do. I'm excited.
Another bit of news is the minivan is returning, according to some reports that I've seen, on December the 14th, but that might be a tentative date. And that is for club level only. Now, when you look at the price point on this, you can understand why it's club level only, because at $199 one way from Orlando Airport to Disney World in a minivan is outrageous. I will pick you up at the airport and drive you just for $100 if you want to give it to me. That is insane. You could get a limo for that. With drinks. I mean, $199 one way. So for a family, it's going to cost you $400 round trip to Disney World for transportation. And as you and I have said many times before, rent a car.
Agreed.
Rent a car, because that car rental is going to be way less than the $400. You know, unless you're going in the, during the holidays. But if you're going off season, you're going to be able to get a rental car for less than $400.
Agreed. And it's a significant increase, Walt, because the article also put out that pre-pandemic, when it was available, it was 155.
Yeah.
One Direction. So
yeah, so a $44 increase is pretty huge.
Yeah,
you know,
like just, Walter and I always say, stop the self-infliction. Rent a car.
Absolutely, yeah. And we don't have an affiliation with any car rental companies, although we wish we would soon.
We wish we did. But no.
So moving on, another bit of news at Epcot, the 16-foot tall Tafiti at Journey of Moana is now has been, well, it was added, but it's now visible to everyone. So I don't know how you feel about that, Ken, but as we've discussed in the past, another, I'm sure it looks beautiful, but walking in Epcot, we already walk enough in Epcot, and to have a walking path, no matter how beautiful it looks, I don't know, doesn't excite me. Does it excite you? No,
not really. But I'm going to say, Walt, I hope we're wrong. And when it's all said and done, because the date is still holding at late 2023 for its completion. I really hope we're wrong. And it turns out to be really good and really enjoyable. But as you said, and we talked about it a couple shows ago, there's enough walking we already do in Epcot. There's not enough shade in Epcot. Doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of shade in this either. And but yeah, I mean, if you're a Moana fan and now they put this up, it's one step closer to completion, and we shall see.
There's only two things I want to walk to at Epcot. One is Rose and Crown, and the other one is to La Cava Tequila in the Spanish or in the Mexico Pavilion.
I knew you were going to say that.
Those are the only two things I want to walk to. Other than that, you can save that walking tour for kids, I guess.
But you know what, Walt, real quick before we move on from this segment, I'm still concerned, and I'm still concerned it's going to make that area congested, because you got to walk through that area anyway to get to World Showcase. And certain times of the year, it's congested. Even before the construction, walking through there, it was congested. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Listen, I agree with you. I hope it is really nice. I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it'll be gorgeous. But I can give you an example, not to go off on a tangent real quick on this, but in Animal Kingdom, okay, there is the walking trail there. I forget the name of it at the moment, but it's over by the safari. Okay, so it starts with a P. Anyway, so that is a very, very, very nice walking area there that you can do. And I've done it twice, and the only two times I've done it have been in the winter months, because as you know, when you go there anytime between, say, May and late September, early October, your sweat's going to be sweating. So to me, in Epcot, unless you're going there in the winter months to enjoy this, if you're going there in the summer and it's 90 degrees in the shade and 100% humidity, are you going to really want to walk all the way to the front of the park from, say, World Showcase to go see the Moana walking garden? Or even if you're in the front of the park and you come in the front, first thing I'm headed for is Spaceship Earth to get some air conditioning and cool off. So I don't know. But like I said, I hope it turns out to be really nice, but a ride I think would have been much better than that.
Agreed. But we will find out.
We will find out. And lastly, a real quick message here that we saw an article about Flight of Passage that James Cameron is talking with Bob Iger about possibly coming up with another sequence or a different addition to Flight of Passage. So that would be something exciting that in conjunction with the movie that's being released in the next few weeks, that, something to look forward to. Not that Flight of Passage is bad, but, if you have a different sequence or multiple sequences similarly to what they do with Star Tours, it's something to look forward to on that ride.
Now, Walt, when are they going to have that conversation about Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser?
That's another conversation to have. We're going to wait on that.
But that's exciting news, though, because like you said, up till Cosmic Rewind, Guardian of the Galaxy, that was your favorite ride on property, and probably a lot of people's favorite ride on property. So that's good news if you're a Pandora fan.
That's correct. That's correct. So we're going to wrap up the news there, and we're going to head over to our main topic, which is the continuing story of Bob Iger.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. Go ahead.
We forgot. We did it 2 episodes in a row. We got to talk quick about the DVC news that came out of the condo association.
That's
meeting.
right. I apologize. That's right. That's right up your alley, because you've got all the dates written down there in the refurbs.
So before we jump into our Iger discussion, recently the Disney Vacation Club had their annual condo association meeting, and actually, if you're a DVC fan, some pretty good news came out. Several resorts are now scheduled for refurbishment, starting at the end of 2022, which we're at now, through 2024. And I have those to go over with you. Now they have 2 segments here. Several resorts are going to be going under a hard goods, which is basically a full refurbishment of the room. And then there are several that are going to be a soft goods refurbishment, which is, it could be a paint job, it could be carpet, it could be minor furniture changes, etc., but nothing, not a full refurbishment. So first I'll start off with the soft goods refurbishment. Walter, you should be happy with this. Beach Club Villas and Vero Beach. And sometime in 2023, we'll be going under a soft goods refurb. So your favorite resort, Walt,
yeah,
will be getting a little spruced up.
A little touch up. It didn't really need it, but that's nice to hear.
Hey, our dues are paying for it.
Yeah.
And then over for the hard goods, which is basically a full refurbishment, like which recently took place over at Saratoga, Old Key West. Boulder Ridge is now underway. And real quick, Walt, I actually saw on one of the groups I follow on Facebook, a person was over at Boulder Ridge, and then they got moved from their room, and they actually got moved into one of the new rooms, and they posted a bunch of pictures of it. Like you and I, we saw the artist rendering when we talked about it several months ago. It looks pretty good. It was a nice looking room. I think they did a good job. Like I said, not exactly, and I think you agree, it's not exactly our theme, but it looked a heck of a lot better than what Boulder Ridge used to look like. So yeah, Boulder Ridge is going to be present through 2023. Hilton Head, which is in South Carolina, that is starting sometime in 2023. And as we previously discussed on multiple shows in the past, the Boardwalk Villas will be starting in 2023. And finally, in 2024, a very popular Bay Lake Tower. Mm-hmm. So those are the hard goods refurbishment schedule from the Disney Vacation Club.
Now, did you ever stay at Boulder Ridge?
No.
Okay,
I have not stayed at Wilderness Lodge. We had one time we had a wait list. We were at Saratoga, and we did a wait list for over there, and it did not come through. So I have yet to stay there. I
had heard that Boulder Ridge was in desperate need of a refurb.
Between pictures I've seen, and I've seen people do, other vloggers do, when they vlog the room, and it was, it was not. They were not. They definitely needed it. They definitely needed some TLC, and they're finally getting it. So I think people who own there, and I think it will become much popular now once it goes through its refurbishment, just like Saratoga. Now, Saratoga has been talked about a lot more recently since its refurbishment. They did an excellent job there, and I'm not just saying that because I own there. They did.
Let me ask you a question, though. Do you feel that these rooms get beat up by the DVC folks, or is it by the cash side of it? Because it just seems like some of these rooms are in pretty rough shape.
Well, when you look at it, Walt, there's certain resorts, say like Boardwalk, you have the villas side and you have the inside. So any of the damage, unless they move somebody over there because there's an issue, it's DVC people staying there. Mm-hmm. Now you take Old Key West, you take Saratoga, those resorts are 100% quote unquote vacation clubs. However, a portion of those rooms are sold out to cash paying, patrons. Mm-hmm. So it's a combination of both. And I've seen articles and I've heard discussions where, it's other people beating up the rooms. It's everybody not taking care of it. Yeah. I've seen iron marks on stuff. Like, how do you put your iron down on the table?
Right.
like face down. Like, how do you do that? You know what I mean? Would you? My opinion is, would you do that at home?
Right.
I wouldn't. You know,
but theoretically, though, you could say that it's really more DVC people that are damaging it, because the chances of the cash side of it's they're probably not staying there as often as a DVC member would. So probably the majority of the stays are probably DVC members that are staying.
Probably. But like I said, you have to, depending on the resort, you have certain resorts that you have a cash side and the rooms look completely different. You know, like, but unlike, you know, like Saratoga, Old Key West, there are two of them right there that are, you know, quote unquote, all those rooms are for Disney Vacation Club members. However, a portion of them do get sold off. You know, you're allowed to purchase them to stay. So it's a combination of both. But to think that, you know, we're probably going to get DVC hate mail now. But you know, certain people,
nobody watches this from DVC. Okay.
but let's face it, some people, they don't take care of it because they don't think it's theirs.
Right.
Even though you're paying thousands of dollars a year in dues. So
yeah,
I'm excited though. Boulder
That's
Ridge
good.
definitely needed it. I was reading some of the articles. They were a little shocked with Hilton Head or Vero Beach, but hey, if they're going to refurb it, let them do it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's head over to our main story, which is the Bob Iger, Bob Chapek saga that continues. So we had some thoughts about, you know, and a lot of people have already kicked this around, so we won't delve into too many of the topics that have already been beaten to death. But we had some ideas, and Ken and I were going to talk about this, and we'll discuss it back and forth on things that we kind of made a wish list of things that we would like to see changed, and then things that more or less are probably going to be changed, but they're not going to be one and the same, because as you know, your wish list is not always going to, we're not going back to the way things were. I mean, let's just face the facts. We're not going to go back to the Michael Eisner era and the, you know, pre-pandemic era. Things that there might be some tweaking of things, but for the majority of things, some of the things that we dislike, unfortunately, are probably here to stay. So let's start with number one on that list for everybody. Genie Plus. Is Genie Plus going to be taking it to the woodshed, or is
Getting dark now?
Is Genie Plus going to stay around? We need a little Sopranos music there in the background for this that part of the episode. But I think Genie Plus is here to stay. I think you probably would agree with me on that.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, it's a revenue producer for them. The vast majority of people, probably overwhelming majority of people, have bought into this. Don't ask me why, but they haven't gotten a lot of pushback from people on it. Not enough of a percentage to make it, you know, to change it. So people are willing to plunk down their extra, you know, $15 or, you know, whatever it is per day, per person. They're going to keep going with this. Now, do you think they're going to tweak it a little bit and make it a little bit different? Maybe make it a little easier to use? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure, Walt. I mean, like we just talked about in the news segment of the show, there just recently has been a change to Genie Plus, and I think Walter and I agree. It's minor, but it's positive. I'm in agreement with you that I think it's here to stay. I'm not versed enough on it. I've only used it several times because I'm not in love with it. And I don't think I'll ever be in love with it. I don't like the fact that I have to wake up at 6:30 in the morning, feel like I'm going to work, you know, get the coffee pot going, sit on the deck for 7 a.m., hoping that I can get the times that I want for the park reservation that I have. Or that I have to worry about, well, if I pick a ride in another park, I can't get there till after 2 o'clock. And then I got to hope that I can actually get into that park after 2 o'clock to use my lightning lane.
Right.
So I don't know about you. I don't know how much easier they can make it. You know, what I also don't like about it, I would rather see a flat fee, Walt, because right now I believe it's $15 to $30, depending on the time of the year. So the busier the time, the more expensive the price. Something I brought up that I think would make people, and I think we briefly touched on it a couple episodes ago, bring back a form of free fast pass, whatever you want to call it, but you still keep your Lightning Lane, you still keep Genie Plus, right? Take your more low-level tier rides. Even if you gave me one, even two per day, you know, say like an Epcot, like a Living with the Land, or something on the lines of that, where like I knew no matter what, I was still getting something for free.
Right.
And something that I could choose prior to my stay. Now, I don't know if this is even, and it just, what I just said actually made me think about something. And I want to ask you, if, because you're the ride guy, could they do a Genie Plus paid, but let me pick the rides prior to my vacation?
Well, yeah, they could do that. They used to do that before, when you had your 3 fast pass choices.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yes, they could do it. Now the question is, especially now, because the park reservation system more or less is going to stay. So if you're using that park reservation system, you can then tie it to what you're saying, which is to have that, you know, A-level ride and then give you 2 B-level rides that you can then, you know, you're going to get on.
Yep.
So even if you don't get on the A-level ride, you're not going to be, at least you know you have something. Like
you have a fallback.
You have a fallback. So, but yes, I think I agree with you. I think 2 would be a perfect number, a perfect solution to that issue right now. I would like to make that reservation before I get there, like you said.
I agree.
And this ties into another issue that I was going to bring up, which is the complexity of this. So let's not make it as complex as it is. Disney vacations were always a little bit on the complex side to begin with.
Yes.
And what they've done is they've just injected steroids into them and now turned them into this monstrosity of complexity. So they just decided, okay, how can we really make this even more complicated for people? And like you said, having to get up at 6:30 in the morning and sitting there on your phone, hoping the Wi-Fi works so you can get the rides that you want. Now, a lot of people are going to argue and say, well, I really don't have those type of issues. I've gotten on rides and gotten the ones that I wanted. Okay, you've gotten lucky, maybe, perhaps, or maybe the rides you get on aren't the rides that are the A-level rides that everyone wants to get on. Not everybody wants to ride Pirates of the Caribbean or Jungle Cruise. You know, those aren't going to be at the top of my list for Magic Kingdom.
Whoa.
Or most people. Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't want to shoot you down on that, but you know, for you called me the rides guy. So if I'm the rides guy, I'm getting on the A-level rides. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think 2 is a perfect number. It's a good solution. And then, like you said, pick a number that you're going to charge me for that. And stick with it. Like you said, I don't have an issue, but stop moving the target around and stop making it a job. I don't want to have to get up at 7 a.m. I want to be able to get up in peace on my vacation, have breakfast, and head to a park knowing
it's all set up.
What's all set up. I know what's ahead of me. And that's how the Disney vacations used to be. It's one of the things that people used to always critique about people that were Disney fans, that, oh, you have your vacation all planned out. Yes, because of that reason, because it can, as you can see now, it became a monstrosity of complexity. And when you had it already all planned out, it works seamlessly and it lets you enjoy your day. Whereas now you're just wasting time waiting on lines forever and not getting anything done, spending hundreds of dollars more for park reservations or park passes to get into the parks. and you're not getting anything done. You're spending the entire day there. And then you've taken away other things like the hopper. So, which brings me to the park hopper. The park hopper, as you pointed out earlier in a previous episode, if I'm paying for a park hopper, do not put a time constraint on me. I paid for it. You know, it's like saying, you know, you're going to the food store, you're going to pick up your groceries, but sorry, you can't come here. They're ready to be picked up, but don't come here at noon. You got to be here at 5. I mean, it's just it makes no sense. You paid for the park hopper. If I want to go park hopping at 11 a.m. or noon or 1 or 2 or 3, whatever time it is that I want to go, it's my choice. So take that time constraint away. Like you said, I could decide to go to Epcot, go in, do Spaceship Earth, turn around, walk out, and go to Hollywood Studios. But I can't do that now because I gotta have to wait till 2 o'clock. So I mean, I don't know how you feel about the park hopper, but I think that's got to go. That it has to go back to the old way.
And I think I agree with you 100% because, and think about this, Walt, you know, and it wasn't that long ago, pre-pandemic, you could do whatever you wanted to. And we understand the world changed for a while and some things have changed forever. It is what it is at this point. However, that is one thing that could totally be changed. We are operating back to normal. Because think about this. You're paying more now for a park hopper than you were in March of 2020. Yet, you cannot use it, what you're paying for, until 2 o'clock. So I'm paying more and I'm getting less. That has been with Walter and I's argument for nearly the past year.
Yes.
It's not, and I think, and when I watched one of our recent shows, and I said this, I says, we don't care how much we pay as long as we get more. Let me rephrase that. I don't mind paying more as long as it's not astronomical and out of the ballpark. But I'm paying a lot more for a lot less. And that's, I think, what just you and I think most of the Disney fans are pissed off about.
Yeah.
You know, they're ticked off.
Absolutely.
I don't mind paying more. It's even like taxes. And I remember my grandfather saying when I was a kid, you know I got to pay taxes. And I know they're going to go up. But the town, the city, the state better provide me with a service. And it's no different than Disney. I know you're going to have to raise rates every year, but it could be a moderate increase, not the Chapek era increases, and get little to nothing out of it. But I do think that it's sometime in early 2023, you are going to see some kind of modification with the park reservation system, or at least with the park hopping. I do think that he is going to, with Josh tomorrow, make a change with that. I don't know how you feel, Walt, but I think that's something that they could change and people could feel better about things. And it doesn't really hurt the bottom dollar with them.
Correct. And there's a lot of little things that they can bring back that doesn't really cost them much at all. It just builds goodwill with your customer base. We talked about this a while ago where you mentioned the irony of it is the video that we put up back in, I believe it was July, of all of the things that went away.
Yep.
And in later episodes, you mentioned one of the little things, which was the if you made a purchase at a store on property, it was taken to your room.
Yes, I missed that.
That's a small thing. I'm sure it's not a huge cost for them. I can't imagine why it would be, because you're moving around property constantly anyway. I'm sure there's other packages being moved around, and that's a little thing that could be brought back that would show the consumer and the Disney fan that we do care about you, that we're going to bring back the little things, because those little things they were almost like just poking you in the eye. I mean, it was because there was no reason to take those away. How much did they honestly save? Did they save millions of dollars because they're not delivering a package to your room? Come on.
But you know what? Well, I understand in the very beginning when the parks reopened in summer of 20, and it was, their help was significantly cut back. So I understood at that time why they weren't offering that. They didn't want people they wanted as least amount of contact as possible. So I understood it.
Correct.
And I figured, okay, as we go down the road and this gets more under control and we understand it and, we start, medicine starts helping things out, that it would come back. And we're basically operating at pre-pandemic levels, yet it hasn't come back. And what boggles my mind a little bit, and maybe I'm just a little bougie, I don't see any articles like talking about this. I don't see when you're in Facebook groups or all these other blogs, like people talking about this. Like, do you people like going to the park for 6-7 hours and having to carry your stuff around with you, or waiting till the end of the night or when you're leaving the park to then have to go catch that? Because we all know you see something when you first get there, and if you wait on it, it's gone by the time you decide to go back and grab it. So that's why I loved it.
I don't think a lot of people knew about it, to be honest with you. Because when, back when that was, when we were going in, back in the early 2000s, and we were going like 3-4 times a year, we would have to ask sometimes, like if my wife would make a lot of purchases over at the Mexico Pavilion, and we would say, hey, can you have this dropped off at our room? And they'd say, oh, sure. But we'd have to ask. It wasn't like they were offering it to us. So it was available, but I don't think a lot of people probably were aware of it to take advantage of it. So maybe that's one of the reasons. But again, I mean, if you're a DVC member, I'm sure you were aware of it because you were there often enough.
My wife used it a lot. I mean, I don't know how many times we check into Saratoga, and I've said it in episodes past, we go directly over to Disney Springs, and she goes to the Christmas shop. And it's like this, and this, ship it home. And guess what? We've had it because you ship the ornaments home because it's a lot easier. If something breaks, you literally contact them and they send you another one. I mean, it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you want to ship it home now, you can, but you're paying for it. I mean, granted, I'm sorry. I don't want to confuse nobody. If you wanted to ship something home, you could still do that. And even pre-pandemic, of course, you had to pay for it.
Correct.
What we're talking about is if I go to the Christmas shop at Disney Springs and purchase something and I don't want to carry it, you could send it back to your room, but that ended when the pandemic began and has not been brought back. And I don't know, Walt, because we don't hear enough about it. No one talks about it. So I don't know if it's ever going to come back.
Well, I'll bring that actually ties us into the next thing that no one is really talking about, maybe because people hated it and they don't want it back. But one of the things that I think they could bring back relatively quickly, and also to kind of help out with some of the costs that have been incurred by people, is the dining plan. The dining plan, you don't really hear anybody talking about it much. That's something that they could bring back. Another, I wouldn't call that a small thing, but it is one of those things where I think it helped families. It wasn't for everybody. I'll be honest with you. I mean, there were times that I used it and times that I didn't.
Same here.
But let me tie another thing into that. Along with the dining plan, one of the things that I did use, and I think you and your wife used, was Tables in Wonderland. Tables in Wonderland went bye-bye. That was phenomenal because you did pay. There was an initial fee that you paid annually. But if you were going to Disney 2 or 3 times a year and you were dining at, a little bit of the more expensive restaurants in Disney, you got your money back probably on the second time you went out, because that also included alcohol.
Yes, it did.
So you were getting what was it, 20% you were getting
20% off both food and alcohol.
And alcohol. Okay. So do the math. I mean, you go out to Le Cellier, you're going to run up a $200 tab pretty quick, or close to it. 20% off.
A couple of Bob Blues too, you know?
Yeah, you go to Grand Floridian, or you go to Citrico's, or you go somewhere else where you're going to be, you know. Now, does that make sense if you're dining at the food court every night? It doesn't. Obviously not. But again, the dining plan now would. So the dining plan was something that, say, a family of 4 could now prepay, and you knew, okay, this is how much money we're laying out for our food, and we don't have to worry about it. So as you pointed out a while ago, you had your transportation paid for. Well, it wasn't paid for. It was free. Magical Express was free. You had your dining plan, so you knew how much money you already laid out for food. So you had all your meals lined up.
Yep.
You had your fast passes, which were free, all taken care of, and your rides. So your vacation was much smoother, much more seamless than it is today. Again, my point being that this is where someone needs to sit down, whether it's Iger or whoever, I'm sure it's not going to be Iger, but whoever, and say, hey, listen, we've got to streamline this a little bit better for folks, because the way this is set up currently, it's just a gigantic mess, and it's going to basically drive away consumers. It already has, in my opinion. I think they're already starting to see it. I think the middle class, they've priced the middle class out of a Disney vacation. You know, I mean, how do you feel about the dining plan and all of that, and the tables in Wonderland?
Well, I'm very upset because I held off for several years on tables in Wonderland, and then it was our last trip pre-pandemic. We decided to purchase it on our first night when we were renewing our annual passes. It was $250, and like we just said, it was 20% off food and alcohol. And another big perk, free valet parking.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you had 20% off, and free valet parking. So, I mean, so now I could go to dinner at the Contemporary, Steakhouse 71 California Grill. Didn't have to pay for parking. You know, even at Disney Springs, you pulled up, they valet parked you.
Yep.
It was great. And I want to say after that first trip, it basically paid for itself, because we ate at California Grill. At that time, it was still the Wave. We ate at the Wave. We ate at Le Cellier. And then when you look at what you also would have paid for parking, I was like, oh my God, look how much money I saved.
Correct.
This is great. For $250?
Yeah, and now you bring up another point, which is another little thing that could change immediately: paying for parking. You pay for parking. Now you're a DVC member, so you don't.
Correct.
But Joe Schmo like me, I pay for parking when I stay.
Don't say that, Walt.
At Beach Club or at Saratoga, whereas before it was free. And
when you pay for your parking, it's tiered, because if you stay at Pop, it's one price. If you stay at Caribbean Beach, it's another. And if you stay at Deluxe, it's another price.
Right. That's insane. Think about that. Now I've already paid through the nose for my hotel room.
Yeah.
See, and this goes into the category that you brought up earlier, which is you don't mind paying for something as long as you feel like you're getting something for it. Okay, so instead of charging me daily for my parking, why don't you just incorporate it into my room price so I don't see it?
I was just thinking it because you're getting it, but I don't know it.
Right. Because even though you're still going to get me on it, I don't know it. And it's not a slap in the face, because that's what that is. It's a slap in the face. It's like you paid for your room. Oh, and by the way, even though before you never had to pay for parking before, and because all of the other hoteliers in the area had been doing it, and Disney went, oh, wait a minute, we can do it too because everybody else is charging for parking. How about you take a stand and say, you know what, we're not going to be like everybody else.
Yep.
We're Disney. We're going to be different. We already charge our customers enough. And you could say that, and it's great PR, And then on the back end of it, as you know, in business, you can just add it onto the room and you're still getting the money anyway.
That's all you do.
So
it's what I hear all the time: optics.
Absolutely.
Bob Chapek had poor optics.
No, it was non-existent. He needed a professional PR team around him 24/7 because he just has no clue on how to maneuver these things, and obviously that's why he's not there anymore.
Yep.
Magical Express. We won't beat that to death because we've already talked about that in other episodes, but that's something that's got to come back. I mean, it won't. It probably won't,
but it should.
It should come back. Another thing that would facilitate, families, vacations.
And think about that, Walt. We're saying to bring it back, and you and I are saying it needs to come back, even though it won't. I'll be very shocked. I think you agree. I'll be very shocked if it does. But we're two people that don't use it.
Correct.
But there's so many people out there, their families need to use it and love to use it.
Absolutely.
It was part of their experience, and you took it away.
And I'll be honest with you, the one thing that I don't use it, but that I find super helpful is the fact that they lug your luggage around for you. So you don't have to ever see your bag again once you drop it off at the airport, which is phenomenal because traveling through the airport is stressful enough as it is. Then having to wait 20 minutes or half an hour at the luggage carousel and fighting other people to try to grab your bag, that's not part of my vacation experience that I would want to have. So if they want to do that and they're doing it for free, God bless you. That's great. I'd rather have them do it, and I'd rather go sit on the bus and think about my upcoming trip and vacation where I'm going to do the rest of the day. Yep. So I honestly think these are all things, like I said, that we've touched on that are they're small things. They're not they're not things that are going to bankrupt Disney.
No.
And like we just pointed out, there's other ways of maneuvering around those things to maybe shift the cost into something else so you don't realize you're paying for it, even though technically, it might be quote unquote free. You know what I'm saying? So
but I'll tell you, Walt, and everything we've talked about, now a lot of it's probably not going to come back, and we know that. However, some of it can. And I think, and I hope I'm not wrong, but I think, there's, as actually everybody went nuts the other day. There was video that came out from all over the place. Bob Chapek, no, I'm sorry. Oh God, don't even say that name. Bob Iger and Josh D'Amaro.
Don't say the C word.
Yeah, don't say the C word. Don't ever say that. It's like the boogeyman. It's like Beetlejuice 3 times. But so there was video of Josh D'Amaro was with Bob Iger at Disneyland walking down Main Street. And you thought it would have been a rock star. It was like the Messiah returned. People are yelling and clapping, and we love you, Bob, and thanks for coming back, Bob. And, he worked it better than any politician I know. Shaking hands and talking to people, and Josh D'Amaro was, right there next to him. And one thing I have noticed, and they have good, you could tell they have good chemistry. Like both of them there, they looked very comfortable with each other. There was videos from them walking down, talking, and I think you could see a lot with body language. I think they have a good rapport, and they knew each other. I mean, they worked together when he was CEO round 1.
Right.
I think there was going to be some minor changes in early 2023, and that will make people so happy. And I think he's smart enough, and I think Josh D'Amaro was smart enough to realize that.
Right.
That if you give just crumbles back of something that they used to get, and it didn't cost us anything, he knows he can look like a hero. And like you said, at little to no cost to the company.
Well, what I'd like to see, though, from what your point is I'd like to see Josh come up with some ideas and hopefully maybe Chapek was holding him back and he would have to run everything through him and he was micromanaging everything.
That's what it sounded like.
But hopefully Iger will let him come up with his own ideas, and I'd like to see some changes implemented like almost immediately, which they can be. So, and if he doesn't do it now, then he probably never will.
Well, he did say in that town hall meeting that, because it was brought up about changing things, and he says, I'm not going to make any decisions right now regarding the parks. I have to sit down with Josh. We're going to discuss things, and then we'll we'll come up with if there is going to be any changes. And that's what smart leaders do. You sit
Absolutely.
with your top advisors, and he or she lays it out, and you go back and forth, and the pros and the cons, and can we do this? Can we not? That's why I think as we know, they were already together in person. So these discussions have already taken place and are happening. So fingers crossed, I think something will change early 2023. I hope. We'll see.
Yeah, we're hoping. Another little thing that I haven't heard anyone talk about, which my wife and I have definitely missed over the years, and I don't know if you noticed it when you've been there before. This was, I mean, obviously post pandemic, you can scratch that out, but pre-pandemic, the cast members, the quality of the cast members weren't the same. And what I mean by that is the knowledge level of the cast member wasn't the same. And it's not because it's their fault. It's because I don't think Disney's spending enough time training them properly. When my wife and I first started going to Disney, we were amazed at how all of the cast members bought in. And what I mean by that is that they believed in the company. They had knowledge of the product. They had knowledge of the park that they were working in. And I remember going on behind this, actually wasn't behind the seat. It was the Keys to the Kingdom tour.
Yep, very good.
At Magic Kingdom. And I remember going on that tour, and I remember asking, we went down into underneath Magic Kingdom, and I remember asking the person who was giving the tour, how are you able to get, these kids from college and from, exchange students from other countries? They come in and they all are in lockstep with the Disney theming. You could ask them a question about anything and they knew exactly where to send you and where to go. You could ask them about show times, firework times. I mean, they rattled stuff off the top of their head, and I was always amazed by that. And then as time went on, there was a time where we went on a vacation. We were in Animal Kingdom, and I don't remember if I was with, I think it was with your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to know where Russell was going to be the character, and Doug in Animal Kingdom. And they looked at us like they had no idea who Doug and Russell were. They thought they were like, I guess, just, their coworkers. I'm like, no, the characters. The characters. And we were just shocked that they had no idea. And it was literally like around the corner from where we were standing. And within like a half an hour, the characters came out, and these people, the cast members didn't know. So I think Disney needs to spend a little bit more time, perhaps, kind of getting their cast members back into it. Now, maybe some of them have been beaten down by morale issues over the years, which I can fully understand. But, they still have to, I think Disney has to spend a little bit of time kind of getting people juiced up again who work there and getting to know more of the product. Because that actually extends into your experience that you're having on vacation.
I noticed the same thing, Walt. And when I first started going, I remember you telling me prior to, me coming back to Disney about how the knowledge and how they knew everything. And it was the cleanest place on earth. And they were just lockstep. They just knew what they were doing. Right. And then I started to see it as well. And then I remember one time it was another trip that I actually had to stay over for one extra day because our plane got canceled. There was something wrong with the plane. So we called up Disney from the airport, and Disney said, no problem. We're going to have a room for you. Actually, I talked about this before. I got to find those pictures. So we were staying at Saratoga that week, and we had to stay an extra day. So we drove back to Disney, and we got a room for one night at Port Orleans Riverside. I thanked Disney because it was probably 10:30 in the morning, and they had a room ready and available for us. So I didn't have to wait till 4 o'clock. So I asked the lady, and I said, hey, what time does the bar open? Where Yeehaw Bob is? She had no idea. No clue. Then she's like fumbling through the booklet. And I'm like, how'd you not know that?
Right.
How'd you not know that?
Yeah, I mean, it's
yes.
You work here. You should know that.
And then it's funny because then there was a gentleman who worked for Disney for years. He was on the pontoon boat, the water taxi. So that afternoon, we jumped on that boat and we were taking it down to Disney Springs. And I just struck up a conversation with him. There was only a few of us on the boat. And this guy didn't miss a beat, Walt. He didn't miss a beat. He knew everything. Boom, 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 boom. And like you said, that was the difference. That was a clear difference between seasoned veteran that's how Disney operated and that's how he was trained. To the other cast member where it was like, here's your 48-hour or 48-minute crash course on, you know, be nice to people and, you know, if you can't help them, figure it out. You know, find out the information. Where this guy just knew it.
Right.
And
yeah, you have to have a little bit of pride.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. It's not all of them, but you're seeing it more and more that they don't have the same level. And I'm not blaming them. They're still nice.
But they just have to be trained properly, you know. And I think Disney has to spend a little bit of time doing that.
But I also, Walt, and not we're going to dive into this now, but like recently there was protests outside the union protesting outside Walt Disney World because of, you know, the contract negotiations and what they're paying these people to.
Absolutely.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and listen, they've got to really get into a reality of what a minimum wage should be at Disney. You know, it's you know, you're not. It shouldn't be a McDonald's level entry job. They should have a little bit more pride in their product and in their employees, and they should pay their employees a respectable wage.
Agree.
You know, maybe 20 is a little too high. I'm not going to go into the numbers of it, but you need to pick a number that people will say, hey, you know what? It's livable, you know, and they've got to, and you know, because you're a union guy. You know, you need to sit down in a room and kind of hash this out and figure out, okay, where can we meet somewhere in the middle instead of going to war back and forth and, you know, just lock the door, order a pizza and figure it out. And, and when, you know, when the smoke clears, come up with a number. But you're right. They need to maybe be a little bit more respectful of their cast members. But by the same token, I think the cast members also, like I said, that's one of those things that I miss, and I think that could be changed relatively quickly. One thing that I, you know, we talk about a lot of things that, you know, we don't like or that are wrong with Disney, and a lot of people might say, well, why don't you guys come up with some ideas? Okay, well, here's an idea. Now, you're going to probably laugh because this is one of my pie in the sky ideas. But it's not as outlandish as it sounds. It's actually kind of feasible if you really think about it. So a while ago, there was there were talks about a rail station that was going to be built between Orlando International Airport and somewhere there in
right by Disney Springs.
Disney Springs. Okay, so there was talk about that. So let's now that the former CEO is gone, and I believe this was this talked about under Iger?
Yeah, this has been talked about for quite a few years, and then Disney decided to pass up on the station.
So here's my solution. This is something that Mr. Iger can put a feather in his hat on. He goes back to the negotiating table, and he figures out a way to get that rail station extended to Disney Springs. And we're not stopping there. Okay. We're going to add on. We're going to, as Walt would say, we're going to plus it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to continue with the train station motif. And we're going to now build a rail line, a train station, old-fashioned train that is going to take you from that train station all around all of the resorts and have little drop-off locations in all the resorts at at Walt Disney World.
I love
Now
it.
maybe you could do something around the outskirts of the parks and have like little train stations where you can be picked up by the minivans or whatever. But I think it would be a cool way to add another form of transportation, similarly to the Skyliner and the monorail that currently exists. Now, the monorail, they've talked about this for years, that it would cost like $1 billion to add on to the monorail at this point. Well, how about a cheap solution? I mean, we've always talked about this. How much do railroad ties cost? And and it's got to be the cheapest form. And then you could say, well, let's be environmental. So we can say, hey, we're going to run this thing on natural gas. It could run on natural gas because I think the one in Magic Kingdom runs on natural gas, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's steam. But
is it steam? Okay.
Yeah.
But you could run it on natural gas, okay, which would be clean. So you're not going to pollute the atmosphere. And you could even have fake steam coming out of the train, make it look like, an old-fashioned train. But it just would be one of those little, it would be something that you could say, hey, that's an idea. It's another way to get around on property that would get you around.
I love it.
Certainly more environmentally clean than the buses. It would take some of the buses off of the roads, possibly, which would, be less congested. And personally, I would rather ride, and it could be enclosed and air conditioned, because obviously when it rains, you don't want to be getting soaked, or if it's 100 degrees out, you don't want to be sweating.
That's a great experience.
It would be a great experience. It'd be fun. The kids would love it. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, obviously, I understand that the dynamics of it would have to be tweaked because obviously you can't have railroad ties all over the property.
Yeah.
But you could have like different stations in different parts where you could drop, like, for example, like if you had a drop off at, say, Saratoga. Well, if I'm staying at Old Key West, I don't need another stop. I can just stop at Saratoga. You can even have a stop there where, say, for example, like with Caribbean Beach, you've got Riviera right there. You've got, Pop is accessible with the Skyliner.
Yep.
So you don't have to have 1 million stops. You maybe like 3 or 4 all around the property, but then you could say, hey, it ties in with the transportation from the airport, which you would definitely benefit from, I would imagine. And then you could add this on as a little, because it's got to be cheaper than adding a 5th gate. I'm sure people would rather have another park. I would. But another park at this point in time with the economy and how much it's going to cost and how many years. I mean, because, hey, Tron's taken 5 years to build. How much would an entire park probably would take 20 years to build? We'd be dead by then. Yeah. So, or you'd be wheeling me around in a wheelchair.
Come on, Walt.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think about that? Is that pie in the sky crazy idea or
and it's funny because you and I didn't talk about this before. So this is the first I'm even hearing of it. And what we do, everybody, is sometimes we like to do that to each other. So we're not prepared. You get a real legitimate answer. I love the idea. Could you imagine like driving down the road to your resort? And how cool is it now when you see the monorail going by? Or you see the Skyliner going by, because you don't see that anywhere else. Only there, right? Yep. Can you imagine, like the train around, like, Magic Kingdom taking you to your resort? How cool would that be? Walt would love it.
Yep.
Walt Disney. Now, well, this Walt loves it, but the Walt Disney would love it.
Yes, he would.
And like you said, it would definitely take a lot of engineering. And we don't know, with the landscaping, everything, we're not engineers. But even if you did it in phases, absolutely. It's definitely something to think about. And I still think it would be a heck of a lot cheaper than the monorail.
Oh, it would have to be. Absolutely.
Because I think there's a better chance of the Skyliner expanding at some point someday because it's still cheaper.
Yes.
The monorail, you're never going to see an expansion of the monorail. Let's face it.
No, never.
But I could see an expansion of the Skyliner, but like what you thought about, Walt. Now chances are it'll probably never happen. but that's what Disney used to be. That you would imagine it.
Right.
Men and women would sit in a room and think this stuff up.
Yep.
You know, and I love the idea. How cool would it be to get off? You're getting off that real speedy train, futuristic looking train, to then jump on this antique looking train.
Yeah.
To take you to your resort. I love it. Totally love the idea. All for it. Let's do it.
Let's spend their money. It's actually part of it is our money too, especially you as a DVC member. All right, so I think this is a good time to kind of wrap up. I just have some loose ends here to tie up. So I'm going to kind of blindside Ken on this because he's not expecting this. So I want to give him a huge thanks because back in, I think, February, when we started this, I believe. Well,
actually, you and I started talking about it this time last year.
Okay, so around that time so it's been almost a year now. Yeah. I was really hesitant to start this, not because I don't love Disney, and I just didn't know how it was going to work out. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Ken has done probably 90% of the work involved with this. And I wanted to give him a big thanks because he does all the editing. He does all of the little video add-ons that you see. I am not a tech guy. Computer could fall on me and I wouldn't know what it was. So I give him all the credit in the world because he's put a lot of hard work and effort into this, and he deserves a lot of credit. So I want to say thank you very much for all of your efforts. Because again, I'm just a passenger on the train. So,
well, I did not know that was coming, but I really thank you for your kind words. And this is a team effort. And like I said, from the people watching me from the beginning, I did a solo show for a very brief time, and I enjoyed it. But this is the dialogue that I wanted. And I was like, why don't I just ask my brother-in-law? And I was so happy, Walt, that you agreed to do this with me. And this is a place for us to share our experience and our love with something about Disney. And it's also a place for Walter and I to come to blow off steam from the real world. To sit like this and talk about something we love, even when it ticks us off, it's very enjoyable. And what makes it even better, Walt, is that you are a big contributor because you're the one that comes up with a lot of the topics. Your knowledge of Disney, current and especially past, far exceeds me. But I have a lot of fun doing it. It's brought us even closer together. And I look forward to 2023 and a great year ahead of having some good times, some good laughs, Absolutely. And some good trips to look forward to.
Well, you have one coming up. Unfortunately, I won't be able to join you. But,
I know, I'm disappointed.
We'll be hearing about that in the coming month or so, yep. and want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I think our next show probably won't be until around New Year's, I believe.
Yeah, so Walter and I haven't decided yet. We've been talking about taking just a little bit of a winter break. Our next episode is going to be this episode you're watching now will be drop on the 18th, which is right before Christmas. Then the following, if we did an episode, would be dropping on New Year's Day. So we'll let you know on our social media if we're able to get one for New Year's Day. We were talking about taking a little bit of a break and then coming back in the middle of January, but we'll let you know.
Yep.
So
for everybody, Merry Christmas and a happy, healthy New Year to everybody. And thank you so much for watching and listening and all of your likes and buy some candles.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of the Disney Resorts podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year from Walter and I. Take care, everybody.